Hey guys, we're going to use this John Deere skid steer today to clear out some area that used to be pasture that had grown up in trees. We're going to need to do it quickly because this is a rented piece of equipment, but stick around and see how we do it. Yeah, the girls are down here. They're waiting for their breakfast. Sunning out here on a cold morning. Hey girls, how big are you now? Yes. Hey guys, welcome back to our channel, The Purpose Driven Homestead. Where I'm standing at right now looks like a wasteland. It literally looks like a bomb was dropped behind me. And that's because these guys are still finishing up the logging that I talked to you about just recently in a prior video. This is something we had done on the farm, and where I'm standing at right now, literally this spot used to be a pasture. It had grown up in trees for about 15 years, had been planted, all pines, monoculture. We wanted to get rid of that because we want to turn this back into a pasture land as part of the process of getting this area logged. And so they went ahead and logged this as well. I'm having to clean this up today, and there's absolutely no way that I can do that without heavy machinery. Now I've rented a skid steer, and that's going to be the solution to trying to get some of the heavy lifting done. It's still going to be a lot of manual work out here. There's so much. If you look behind me right now, you can see all of these pieces of wood. A lot of that will be picked up by the skidder, but there's also still a lot of it that is going to be left because it's just so small that the pinchers on the skidder can't pick it up. So it's going to be up to us to get that up, probably stack it up. We'll cut it up into firewood. My father heats with wood, so it's something we can do to kind of help him stock up. We're also going to probably convert at some point to heating with wood so we can try to get off of propane. And so this just, this will be something that we're able to use. But right now I got to get some heavy machinery in here because I've got to make some big piles of debris. So I'm going to show you a little bit about what this skidder has on it, how it's kind of made, and how we're going to use it. So right here on the front, we've got this attachment that allows us to grab all of the logs. This is really nice when you're using something like this for moving timber around, just for waste products like this. We're not talking about huge trees. We're talking about just branches and just extra trash that's left, pine needles, piles of pine needles, things like that. This thing works great. These grabbers open up and obviously the bucket articulates in a couple of different directions, so it allows us to grab it, pick it up. And then here on the side here, this is a track model. So it's nice because we can kind of go over anything. I will tell you that when you're going over stumps, when you're a novice like me who doesn't use these all the time and has to rent it versus somebody that owns their own and uses it every day as part of their construction business or something, it kind of teeters a little bit. And I have seen these things turned over in the past. It takes a crane to pick them up. So obviously it's not something I want to mess with. I want to make sure that I do this the right way, take care of this piece of equipment. Now inside here, we got a regular cab, which is really nice. We got the controls over here on the side, and this one over here is for moving it forward and backwards and turning, and this one controls all of the functions of the bucket, moving it up and down, pivoting it, all the articulation. It's air conditioned and heated inside of here, which is nice. It's a bit of a crisp morning this morning, so that'll be nice just because it's a little chilly. All right guys, let's get started using this today. All right, so we're in the rented skid steer now. The goal here is to try to get as much of the bigger stuff up as we can today. We're going to go ahead and try to see what we can get. Some of the stuff's just going to be too big. We're going to have to wait for the larger skidders to get those, but we're going to try to get as much of this out of the pasture, or at least piled up in strategic areas as we can. Put our bar down. So it's not actually that loud in here. This is a really nice skid steer. And so what we're gonna do is I'll probably use these noise canceling headphones. You can see I actually have some earplugs in here if I need them, but I don't think I'm gonna need them today. It's actually pretty quiet in here. So what I'm gonna do is let this thing warm up and we're gonna get started.
Too many days in the darkness without a glimpse of the light, running tired and broken and scared, but I swear I'll never give up the fight. I see you broken and beat, head pulled down over your eyes, every part
of the things we're trying to do here is we're trying to go through and clear out this area so we can at least start our garden. That's kind of our goal for today. We're gonna have to push all this stuff up, and that's what I've been doing here for the last little while. So we've got to push all of this stuff up into big piles. Then we're gonna probably have to burn it and get some of that taken care of, knock it down, and then we'll pile it back up. And that will have to be manual because I've only rented this for this one day. But this will get us a long way, and then they're gonna come back and they're gonna go through with the skidder and they're gonna clean out a lot of this trash that's still in there. It's still good for pulpwood, so things like you would use for paper or for diapers or anything like that, paper towels. Those are types of things that go into pulp and paper type of products, and that's what this stuff will be good for. They'll chip it up and they'll make those paper products. But that's our goal today, is we are trying to get all of this stuff cleaned up. Now I've got a good portion of it done already. I'm going to show you a little bit about what I'm doing here.
Just like a seed in a garden, you will grow to be tall, staring out over miles of land without it, but wanting to build up walls. Lift me up in your branches, we can watch the sunrise. Just a couple of bruised up souls that believe that it was worth one more try. With every star, we are born again. Open your heart and spend less time in your head. With every star, we are born again. Open your heart, spend less time in your head.
I'm trying to push through some of this right now. So the trick here is you're trying to get the stuff at the top without getting too much dirt. Clear off a lot of this pine straw and things like that. It's pretty acidic stuff as I'm looking through here, and there's quite a bit of it, right? These pines have been here for a while. And so the stuff is very acidic. You hit a couple of stumps every once in a while as you're trying to get some of this stuff through. But the pine needles are particularly challenging because if you're gonna have a regular garden, now if you're gonna have azaleas or blueberries or something like that, acidity is not a big deal for you. Actually, that's what you're looking for. But pine needles do tend to make things acidic, and most plants, like a typical garden, does not like that. And so that's why we're trying to get all of the stuff picked up. All right, where I'm standing at right now, this used to be a huge stand of pines, and these were actually cut off. If you notice, it's a little strange looking. These were cut off all about 3.5, almost 4 feet tall. I'm actually standing on a pile of debris right here, so it makes this look like it's a little shorter. It looks like it's almost waist height. This is probably closer to about midway up my torso. These trees were all cut off at this height for a reason. There's actually fence that has grown into these trees. These trees are so old. This was all where the pasture was originally, and this has barbed wire grown into it. You kind of see me tugging on it right here, but this is all barbed wire that I'm going to have to cut out of these trees. We've also got just regular fence wire that's in here that I need to cut out as well. But we're gonna use this, since these trees couldn't be cut because the saw that they were using, they didn't want to chip the saw or take divots out of it as they were cutting through the trees with known metal. It'll dull their blade really quickly, and those are very expensive blades. So they cut them off above where the fence line is. We're gonna come back through and we're gonna actually use these stumps to put up a new fence. We're gonna see if we can pull that off. I think it's possible. It won't be pretty, but it'll be something that's functional that we can use to keep animals in this space as well, and use these stumps for something useful in the future. So I thought it might be interesting for you guys to see the size and scale of what we're talking about here. These piles that are behind me, they're really large, and this is what I was able to do with that skid steer. But this is, you know, there's gonna be a lot of these that we have to do. And we're gonna use this, it's rich organic material, but that's how much has been dropped in the 15 or 20 years that these trees were growing in this little area where they were planted. And so we've got to get all that kind of piled up, a lot of pine straw because this was a monoculture. We've got to get the pine straw up, and it will decompose over time. It'll make a rich organic matter, but pine straw tends to be really acidic. So we're trying to figure out how we're going to work that through. We may have to add some lime to it to try to equal that out and get the pH back to a neutral setting. All that will be a future video. I'll show you guys more about that. But right now, let's just show you kind of the size and scale of this. If I walk over here, you can kind of see that as I'm standing by this pile, this lit log is actually above my height, and I'm actually standing on part of the pile here just so I can make sure I'm in camera. But this pile is probably 20 feet in diameter. It is actually about 5 feet tall. I'm about 6 feet tall, so this pile comes up to right below my neck. This is a huge pile of organic matter, and there probably would be, in this whole area, there's probably gonna be 100 of these piles like this, or some really massive versions, right, that are many times bigger than this. So there's just so much out here between firewood and rich organic material that we can let decompose. Some of it will burn, some of it will just let decompose on its own, and we'll be able to come back and harvest that at a later time. So we've reached a stopping point, I think, today on our little project. We've got most of this area out here in this pasture, the immediate area where we need to work to try to start our garden this year. That has essentially been flattened. I've gotten a lot of the debris and a lot of the pine needles up here. I'm gonna park the skid steer for tonight. I might get a little bit more done tomorrow, but I think this is a good place. Now we'll start. You can see behind me there is this huge pile of debris. There's several of them, and there's still a whole lot of work that the skidders have to do to get some of the wood out of this, and some of it will probably wind up burning. Some of it will make just good compost as it decomposes over time, but there will be some work here. We'll have to push some of this back, make a pile, burn some, make a pile, burn some, and it'll just kind of over time work itself out. The charcoal is something we'll probably wind up using for our animals because it's a natural dewormer, so that's something we're going to do as well. But just all together, I think this is a really good starting point for this weekend. Now, one of the things we're going to have to figure out how to kind of manage through here is we've got a ton of these really large pine stumps, and that's going to be a future video because we're going to have to figure out how to work around them in some degree and also get as many of them as possible up. But some of these are just absolutely massive. They are huge, and there's no way to work around them except just to do exactly that. We're not going to be able to get, unless we get a bulldozer or something really large in here, we're not going to get rid of those stumps. So we'll have to work around them. We could get a stump grinder in here and they could probably work on it, but it's just going to be below the surface at that point. We need something where we can garden, and those stumps are just going to be a problem anywhere below the surface unless it's 6, 10, 12 inches, probably more like below the surface, and that's probably not something we're going to get a large stump grinder because, again, these stumps are just so massive. I hope you've enjoyed the video today. I figured this one might be a little shorter, just something to show you what we're up to on the homestead. We've got a lot going on. Actually got these kids that are a little under the weather, so they're inside today, and we've been kind of working outside where we can, kind of popping in, coming in and out, taking turns. But that's what we're doing right now. We're clearing out land, getting ready for the growing season. Now, I'm going to show you more about this in the future, but pretty cool to use this John Deere skid steer today. It actually did a great job. I'm so excited about the fact that we were able to rent it and get a lot of work done that probably would have taken us weeks to do in a normal basis. If you enjoyed the video today, please subscribe to our channel. Also give it a thumbs up and click that notification bell so that you don't miss any of our videos. And with that, guys, we hope you have a blessed day, and we'll see you next time on the Purpose Driven Homestead.